The Manhattan Project was a race against time. But before any bombs could be built, a fundamental question needed an answer. Could a nuclear chain reaction be controlled? Hi, I'm Peter Sandberg, and welcome to Entropy Overload. On this channel, we dive into the fascinating world of physics, chemistry, and all things science. Hi, I'm Peter Sandberg, and welcome to Entropy Overload. On this channel, we dive into the fascinating world of physics, chemistry, and all things science. Today, we're not just diving in, we're going back to the moment the nuclear age truly began. We're going to explore the ultimate scientific puzzle of the 20th century, the race to harness nuclear fission. This is the story of the Chicago Pile, 1, the first man-made nuclear reactor. The first and most critical step for the CP1 project was to find a leader. The man who came to mind was Enrico Fermi, an Italian physicist and a living legend. Fermi was a rare blend of theorist and engineer. While he could perform complex calculations on paper, he was just as comfortable building and tinkering in the lab. This unique skill set made him the perfect person to lead the effort to turn abstract theory into physical reality. His remarkable ability had already earned him a Nobel Prize years earlier, all thanks to a simple, accidental discovery. The challenge they faced was that neutrons, once released, travel incredibly fast. This made a sustained nuclear reaction impossible. Imagine a cue ball shot with immense force across an empty pool table toward a single 8-ball. The cue ball is far more likely to just zip right past the 8-ball without making a direct hit. So, the question was, how do you slow down the cue ball? One day, they were working on a wooden table, and they noticed a significant increase in the radioactivity of their samples. Fermi, with his keen insight, hypothesized that the hydrogen atoms in the wood were acting as a moderator, slowing down the fast-moving neutrons. He tested this theory by placing a block of paraffin wax, a material rich in hydrogen, between the neutron source and the target. The results were dramatic. The radioactivity increased by an incredible factor of 100. This was a profound discovery. Fermi realized that slow neutrons were far more likely to be absorbed by atomic nuclei than fast ones. This meant that to create and sustain a nuclear chain reaction, you needed a moderator to slow down the neutrons. This work was a central part of his 1938 Nobel Prize. With this fundamental principle proven, Fermi was the natural and only choice to lead the effort to build the CP1. The reactor's fuel was natural uranium, but here's the problem. Natural uranium is over 99% uranium-238, and only a tiny fraction is the highly fissile uranium-235. The U-235 is the isotope you need for a chain reaction. At this early stage of the war, a large-scale enrichment process didn't exist yet, so they couldn't separate the U-235. This meant the team couldn't rely on fast-moving neutrons from fission to hit the scattered U-235 atoms. The fast neutrons would just be absorbed by the much more common U-238 atoms, killing the chain reaction before it could even start. So, the challenge was clear. How do you keep the neutrons from being absorbed by the U-238, while also making sure they hit the rare U-235? They needed to find a material that would not only slow down the neutrons, but also not absorb them. The answer they found was a material that was relatively abundant and inexpensive: graphite. The team chose graphite for two key reasons. First, it's made of low-mass carbon atoms, which are excellent at slowing down fast-moving neutrons. A neutron will bounce off a carbon atom, losing a significant amount of its energy, just like one billiard ball hitting another. Second, pure graphite does not absorb many neutrons, which means the neutrons could continue to move through the pile until they hit a U-235 nucleus. This was the elegant solution to the biggest problem of the entire project. Another good moderator is heavy water, but at the time, the only plant producing it was in Norway, and it was under Nazi control. This made graphite the only viable option for the CP1. Unlike what the name implies, this wasn't just a pile of materials. It was a carefully engineered spherical lattice. The precise arrangement of the uranium and graphite blocks was a key part of the design. The uranium fuel was placed in a specific pattern within the graphite moderator. This geometric arrangement was critical for optimizing the neutron moderation and achieving a self-sustaining chain reaction. The pile was truly a physical manifestation of a theoretical concept. The only thing preventing this carefully engineered reaction from becoming a runaway event was a set of simple, yet elegant control rods. These rods were coated in cadmium, a metal that is an excellent absorber of neutrons. When the rods were inserted into the pile, they soaked up the neutrons, effectively acting as a neutron poison that held the reaction in check. The team had to be incredibly precise, slowly withdrawing the rods one by one to begin the experiment. With the theoretical problems solved and the design finalized, Fermi and his team needed a place to build their revolutionary machine. It had to be a location that was secure, out of public view, and large enough to contain the reactor. They found it in the unlikeliest of places, a squash court under the west stands of the University of Chicago's Stagg Field. The audacity of building the world's first nuclear reactor in the middle of a major American city, just yards from cheering crowds, is a testament to both the secrecy of the project and the immense trust the scientists had in their calculations. The pile was built in the court, layer by painstaking layer. It was a purely manual process. The scientists and their team worked around the clock, carefully placing each block of uranium and graphite by hand. They had to be meticulous, as the precise geometric arrangement of the materials was vital to the experiment's success. The final moment arrived on December 2nd, 1942. In that squash court, with the pile now a physical reality, the team gathered in a quiet, tense atmosphere. The only sound was the clicking of a Geiger counter. It was a cold, high-stakes gamble with millions of lives hanging in the balance. The crucial action was the slow, deliberate removal of the cadmium control rods. Every inch the rods were withdrawn, the team's hearts pounded faster. They worked with immense caution, knowing that if the reaction went out of control, it would be a nuclear disaster. A suicide squad, led by physicist Walterson, stood ready with buckets of liquid cadmium, prepared to flood the pile if something went wrong. Then, at 3:25 p.m., the clicking of the Geiger counter changed. It didn't stop. It became a steady, humming noise, indicating that the neutron activity was no longer just an echo of the source. It was self-sustaining. The chain reaction had begun. There were no fireworks or explosions, just a profound, quiet victory. Arthur Compton, the head of the lab, made a famous phone call to his boss, James Conant. The message was a simple code. The Italian navigator has landed in the New World. With those words, Enrico Fermi and his team had not only proven the theory of the chain reaction, but had also created a power that would change the world forever. If you enjoyed this look into the history of Chicago Pile, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories of science and discovery.